Alright guys, I think I'm going to start a new occupation when I explore these cemeteries. It's going to be what's the coolest name in the cemetery game. And every cemetery is probably going to be different because, you know, different names in different cemeteries. And this one is in Mandan, North Dakota. It's a pretty big one. It's the Union Cemetery, I think is what the sign said. And there's a lot of old European names, German. I think North Dakota is kind of known for being settled by Germans and Scandinavians. So that will foster some pretty cool names, I think. So let's use it as an excuse to walk the beagle and get some exercise and get the blood flowing and see what the coolest name in the cemetery is. Mandan, North Dakota. I think I might have spotted our first candidate, guys. Himmelsplatch. Himmelspatch? The ones I can't entirely pronounce are always a good sign. That sounds German to me. We have another candidate, guys. Hatzenbuehler. You know, I think, see, I'm not knowledgeable in just about anything, but especially with names and stuff like this, but something tells me that a lot of these names, depending on where a person ended up or where a family ended up, you know, back in the day coming to America, they would have changed their names, they would have shortened them. You know, this easily could have become Hatson or Hats. But if you settle in an area where you're predominantly surrounded by the people in which you came from, if that makes sense, then you would just leave your name alone. So it'd be Hatson, you know, this would just stay Hatzenburl. And there might be a bunch of them in a little mountain Alps town in Bavaria somewhere. So I'm kind of noticing that in this cemetery is there's the names there are intact, if that makes sense. So, but let's keep looking. There's a cool one. Isn't that kind of what, like, all the left was making fun of Trump about? That his name when his family came over from Germany was Trumpf, and it was spelled similar to this, Strumpf. I think so. I always like the Polish mouthfuls here. Monzelowski. Monzelowski. I always love these unique tombstones where people kind of made them themselves, you know. That's really cool. You know that these people oftentimes were real characters in life, and they wanted to do something a little different when they died. This woman died pretty young. She was only 25. Terrible. We're always keeping Mother Mary out of the rain. Got another candidate here, guys. Roschwarder. Definitely German. Here's an interesting one. It's like a piece of petrified driftwood. Dr. Richard Stedler. And I do think this is a piece of petrified driftwood. Neat. I always like this redundancy on some of these names. Ferderer. How else would you pronounce that? Ferderer. There you go. Ferderer. You see that a lot with Finnish names. They end in en or en usually, like Kempinen. I think I've seen it go 3 times. It must be something with like a generational thing. Like first one's a Kempinen, and then the son's a Kempinen, and maybe the grandson's a Kempinen. I don't know. I'm only guessing, guys. Yeah, now here we go. This guy was a fisherman. Lindgang. Oh yeah. You like to fish, probably hunt too. I love these old ones that are, you could tell help some trees grow right in the middle. I love the cemeteries that just let this go. A lot of times they'll come in and cut trees down and manicure, overly manicure, you know. This one just feels like what will be will be. This one's got a great little subline here. Sweetheart so true with eyes of blue, a vision fair to see. She believed and sleeps in Jesus, Pax Eternia. Pretty cool. Oh, I think I spotted another candidate, guys. So, this is not the most unique Anglo-Saxon name in the world, or Scandinavian name, probably. But it does remind me of grumpy old men. Gustafsson! You remember one of I think the John Lemon, was that his name, the actor? He was Gustafsson. Earth has no sorrow that heaven cannot heal. Good line. Well, here's a runner-up for the coolest first name. Adolphus. Must be the long version of Adolf, which probably fell out of favor in the 40s. Another thing that I think about when I'm wandering around these cemeteries is, you know, oftentimes you'll see a husband and a wife buried right next to each other. And sometimes you'll see, like, the husband died, but the wife hasn't yet, and there's a spot kind of waiting for her right next to him. And sometimes you'll see entire families, you know, kind of in one tight plot and all acknowledging each other on their stones. And I noticed that kind of stopped. I don't know. That's a grandparents thing. I think it kind of stopped with boomers, and it certainly has stopped after the boomers. Not to say you won't see that sometimes, but I think it's kind of a sign of the degeneration of society and families and the nuclear family and traditional families and tradition in general. You know, to the point where people hardly acknowledge, you know, their gender anymore. You know, there's people that think there's no such thing as a man and a woman. I mean, believe it or not, trust me on this. If you don't know much about this, it's pretty crazy. And, you know, marriage rates are in the toilet, all-time lows, I think, just kind of announced by the Census Bureau, like, recently. And lots of reasons for that. But yeah, I just think it's sad. I mean, it's like in a couple of generations, we went from people finding each other, getting married, loving each other, you know, tolerating each other, finding redeeming qualities in each other. So much so that even after you die, you're letting the world know in your small way that you loved this person that was buried right next to you, and took their name and had a family with them. And now it's all falling apart. It's bleak, I know, and I'm not saying there aren't people that are not carrying on the tradition, because I know there are, but it's getting less and less so. And if this crazy train doesn't stop, you know, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse, and we're going to become more atomized, and who knows, you know. Just something to think about. Anybody want to take a stab at how you pronounce this one? Here's another one. Fitterer. Fitterer. I don't know why I find that so difficult. Fitterer. There we go. Okay, guys, I see another mouthful over here. Let's see if we can do it. Schwarzbauer. They gone fishing.